Hello everyone. So now we are going to discuss about JSON. JSON is nothing but JavaScript object notation, and it is also a language we are using. This is easy for human to read and write, and JSON use the in many like automation. Whenever we are doing the automation, we are going to use the JSON also. It is used between the server and client, and we are using the RESTful API. Whenever we are using RESTful API, we are using the JSON. Now we need to remember JSON stands for JavaScript object notation, and in JSON also we have different data type. We have object, array, number, string. So in let me show you, and the boolean. So what is object? Object is nothing but like whenever we want to define like string, numbers, objects, like value we need to define. This is the example. If we in exam, maybe you will get like this, and they will ask you this is a valid JSON format or not. So we need to remember whenever we are writing the JSON, it will be opening the bracket, closing the bracket, and whenever we are finishing our what we can say our syntax, that is whenever we are finishing our detail here, we will have the comma, and at last line we will not have the comma. So this we need to remember, because in the exam they will give you, they will put here comma also or colon here, and they are asking this is a valid JSON or not. So this is the valid JSON. How we will find out? We will have a open bracket, close bracket, then whatever the variable we are defining, like example name is Ethernet 1, and when we are moving to the next line we will have the comma, then we will have description, whatever the description we want to define, that is internal link in this case, and then again we have the comma, then enable is equal to false, and here we are closing, so we don't have any comma, then we will have the close bracket. So this way we need to remember, because they are going to ask in our exam multiple choice we will have. So we need to remember a object is an unordered collection of key or values. It is surrounded by a curly bracket, and key must be string or value must be valid JSON data type, string, number, object, array, boolean or null. Key value are separated by a comma, and each key value pair is separated by, here is a colon and here is a comma. If you see, this is a colon and this is a comma. So this we need to remember. Then we have the JSON data type array. Array is nothing but order list of values, set of values. They are surrounded by a square bracket. We need to remember this one. They are surrounded by a square bracket. The value must be valid JSON data type, that should be string or number or object or array or boolean or null. So as we know, whenever we are writing JSON, it will have the curly open bracket, curly close bracket, and then whatever we are defining we will have the comma, and here colon and then comma, and this is the last line. Here we are defining the array. Array is nothing but we will have the order list, that is closed with the square bracket. So this is a square bracket opening and closing, and here we are defining the name of the guys. And if you see here, we will not have any comma because this is the last line. So in the last line we will not have the comma, and here we are closing the bracket. Same like that we have the data types. So string we can write this way, that is name colon name. Number we can define this way. Boolean we can write true or false. Null if we want to define, we can define directly, we can write null. So in exam they are asking, they will give like this, and they will ask you this is a valid or not. Okay, so this is about the JSON. Then we have XML. XML is developed in 1998, widely used across the internet for the web development purpose we are using. And here also syntax we have, like whenever we are starting we will have the open here, open brace, and we will have the value. Again we need to close here. Example, in this scenario, if you see, this is a library, we will define the library, and here this is a note, whatever note we want to define. Here we open the note, here we are closing the note. When we are closing, we need to write backslash, and then we will write to, and we will define we need to send this note to whom, and again close here from, and give the name anything, again close here. And heading whatever we want to write here, again close, and here body open, again body close. So this is a syntax. We need to remember what we are saying. We will have the library, then whatever we open, we will close this. Again here we are opening, closing. This is a body of that one, and this is a main. So this way we have, I wrote here, if you see, this is a library first line, and then we are defining the header, body, all. Just we need to remember, whenever we open, we need to close this one. This is XML. And now we will see API. API, we are saying API mostly we are using. API, first of all, application programming interface. Application API is nothing but application programming interface. We can say this is a piece of software which is used to communicate with other software or hardware. In simple words, what we can say, API is a way for computer program to communicate directly with another computer program. In other words, we can say machine to machine communication. Machine to machine communication. Just remember, API is nothing but application programming interface. Whenever we want to communicate any device, we can communicate with the help of API. API we are using everywhere. If we are accessing any website, that is also we are using API. Different types of API we have. So here we are discussing for the API how we can use to control our devices. We can control our device generally CLI or GUI. Generally we are using the CLI if we want to monitor our devices or perform any operation, or we can use the GUI to configure or monitor our device. But here we are going to use the API to interact with the application or network device. We will use the API, application programming interface. And what API is going to perform? He is going to perform the CUD operation. CUD is nothing but create, read, update, delete. So we can create the data, we can read the data, we can update the data, we can delete the data. We can perform this with the help of API. And API is going to use the XML or JSON are the two most common data format they are going to use when they are fetching the data or retrieving the data. In simple example, we can say API is similar to the waiter in a restaurant. Whenever we go to a restaurant, we will order the food and waiter will come and he will take our order, and then he will go to the kitchen guy. They will give our order. When kitchen guy prepared the food, he will bring back and give to us. Same thing, API is going to act as a waiter role in between the server and the client. Whenever we are fetching the data, he is going to take the data from the server or from the router and bringing and giving back to us. So this is the API role. And what API is going to give? API going to get the data, post the data, put the data, delete the data. As we told here, CUD operation is going to do that one. So with the help of that, we can retrieve the information, we can submit the information, we can update the information, we can delete the information with the help of API. And API is having some constraint. Constraint means like condition. What condition we have? We should have the client and server architecture. Means if you are sending something, imagine you are sitting here and you have one router here and you are sending some information and this router is going to reply. So you are server and this guy is client. We are sending some information, this guy is going to reply. Imagine you are client, you are sending some, you are asking some question to router is replying. So this way, this architecture is known as client server architecture. Client will send the request, server is going to respond that request. That is known as client server architecture. So first condition, we should have client server operation structure architecture. We can say client server architecture whenever we are using the REST API and uniform interface which provide the simplicity. We should have stateless. Stateless is nothing but no content is stored on the server between the requests. Example, you will say router, what is the status of your interface? Fast Ethernet 0/0. Router is going to reply up, and then you will ask what is the IP of that. So this guy don't know what you are asking because he will not store the old information. What we are saying stateless means this guy is going to not remember what we talked before. He will remember only what we are telling now. He will not remember the old thing. That is known as stateless. So no client context is stored on the server request. So when we ask router what is the status of your fast interface F0/0, he is going to reply up. when you ask what is the IP of that one, he will not reply because he don't know which IP you are asking. So we need to tell what is the IP of your interface fast Ethernet 0x0. Then only he is going to reply whatever the IP. So that is known as stateless. Means this guy is not going to remember. And then we have the cacheability. Cacheability means the server will going to reply and he is going to say that this information is cacheable. You can store, you can cache this one, like interface description. We are not going to change the interface description most of the time. Not frequently we are changing. So server is going to reply saying that can you store the cache this information, because we are not going to change this one. So we can cache that. And then we have the layered system, that any intermediate device such as load balancer must be transparent. Example, if we have here, this is our client and this is our server. So in between, if we are having any firewall or anything, they should be transparent. They should allow to go the request and come back the request. This is also one of the constraint. And then we have the code on demand. Code on demand means it is a optional that server is going to send some temporary code to configure the client. So this option is also available. And we are using the netcon or rescon API, especially to design to work the network devices. So this one we are using netcon rescon API to configure the network device, and this one is not working in the normal router. We need to use ASR or CSR router. In that one it is working. And after that we have the data modeling. What we can say, data model is nothing but describing some procedure. We have Yang is a data model. Yang is a data modeling language, we can say. So what is data model? Data model is nothing but describing the thing we can configure, monitor, and the action whatever we can perform. In simple example, if anyone asks how I can assign the IP address to the interface, so what we will say? We will say go to interface F0x0. Go to interface F0x0, and then write IP address and give the IP and write no shut. So we will say like this. This is a data model to assign the IP address to particular interface. So this way, what we can say, data model is nothing but thing we can perform to perform the activity. The procedure which we use to perform the activity, that is nothing but data model. We can say data model describe the thing you can configure, monitor, and the action you can perform on the network device. A data model is a well understood and agree upon the method to describe the something. So in simple, like a procedure. So Yang is nothing but yet another next generation. Yang stands for yet another next generation. So this is also data modeling language. We provide the standardized way to represent the operation of the operational and configuration data of the network device. So we are using Yang also to make the automation. It is used for both internal and external purpose. Same like SNMP we are using, like whenever we are using to monitor the devices, we are using SNMP. We can configure also devices, but it is limited. We cannot configure the device more specific by using SNMP because it is having some limitation. So what we will do, we will use the Yang. Yang is similar to SNMP. What we can say, if you remember, SNMP is using MIB, Management Information Base. SNMP is use the Management Information Base. Like that, Yang is going to use, and he is going to configure or retrieve the information from the devices. So Yang is a standard. If we want to get more detail, we can look the research paper 6020. In that one they describe this more. But now we can remember Yang use the data model that describe what you can configure on the device, what you can monitor on the device, and administrative action what we can perform on the device. So that is described by the Yang, and Yang is having the different vendor is having different model. Means Yang is a standard one. They are going to have the Yang. Same like here MIB we have Management Information Base. Here we will have set of questions. So server is going to ask the set of question to all the client. Same thing here we will have. So different vendor is using the different model. And data model allow the uniform way for us to configure, monitor, interact the network device. And we are using the what tool we are using, netcon, rescon, this all the tools we are using, and in this one Young data model is used. So just we need to remember Young is nothing but data modeling language. It is a set of procedure defined in Young. When we are doing the automation, we are going to use that one. And then we have the configuration management tool. Configuration management tool means we have set of tools. If we want to configure our devices, we can use the set of tool, like we are using telnet, SSH, same like that, but here in automation we will have the tool. We have the agent based tool, another one is the agentless based tool. So these two tools we have two category to manage our device, to configure our device, to control our device. So how we can do means we can use the agent based or agentless based. Agent means we need to install some piece of software in the devices. Example, if I want to configure R1 or R2, I need to install the piece of software in that one. Then only I can control that device. That is known as agent based. If I don't want to install anything, that is nothing but agentless based. Agentless. Okay. Agentless tool do not require any agent or software on the system which we want to manage. An agent based tool required to install the agent on the system we want to manage. So these two things we need to remember. And then we have the Ansible. Ansible is the agentless, and Puppet, Chef are the agent based. Okay, so we need to remember in interview sometime they will ask you what is agent based and agentless. So Ansible is the agentless, Puppet and Chef are the agent based. Agent based means we need to install the agent. Agentless means no need to install the agent. So Puppet is configuration management tool used for deploying, configuring, managing servers. It is use an agent on the target machine. Puppet run on the Linux server, and it is use the pull model. Every 30 seconds by default they are going to check, and it is written in the Ruby. Ruby is also another programming language. It is written in that one. It is created in 2005. Okay, mostly we are using Puppet and Chef for the server, to manage the servers. Okay, same we have the Chef. It is also automation tool we use to manage our network, and it is having the master slave architecture similar like a Puppet, and it is also agent based. We need to install the agent in the target, and it is use the pull model. It is also written in the Ruby. It is created in 2009, and it is known as what we can say cookbook. The terminology we are using for this one is cookbook. So what we can say, this both are used for the server. When we want to manage the server, we are using both of this tool. And then we have the Ansible. It can run from any machine with the Python 2 or Python 3 install in it. And here it is a agentless, means no need to install any other software on the target machine. It use the pull model. It use the SSH by default, and it is originally released in 2012. Ansible model are pre-built with the Python script. So this is also developed with the Python. If we know Python, easily we can learn this one also. So what we are saying, this is the configuration management tool. It is going to use to manage our devices, and no need to install the agent. When we want to manage, it is going to use the SSH to connect the device by default, and here no need to install any agent in the devices, and we can manage the device, we can configure, we can do any operation on the device by using Ansible language. And then we have the Salt Stack. It is the having the agent and the server model. So in that one, this is also another configuration management tool. In this one we can manage same as like a Chef and Puppet. We have here Salt Stack. Here also we are using Python as an interface to communicate the devices by using the Python code we can use. And in this one we can this one is what we can say, it is having the agentless. He is not going to install the agent. No need to install any agent whenever we are using the Salt, this Salt agentless, but automatically they are going to install some minor Salt, some minor software in the temporary folder, and whenever we terminate the session, they are going to delete that one. If you see Salt SSH connection, connect to the remote system and install the lightweight version of the Salt in the temporary directory, and can then optionally delete the temporary directory and all file upon the completion. Whenever we finish the session, they are going to remove that one. What we are saying, this is a Salt Stack is a agentless. It is agent and also agentless, so depend where we want to use. If we want to use in the router, we cannot install any agent. So in that scenario, what we can do, we will use the normal mode. So in that one, they will install in the folder, temporary folder, and whenever we perform our operation finish, they are going to delete that temporary files. So with this one also we can manage our devices. Okay, so this is a configuration management tool. After that we have Python. Let me